What's up everyone, I'm Pamela, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to SISTAPAM SPOOKFEST 2024. Today I'm going to be ranking the Halloween movies. We are doing a couple different rankings for the Halloween franchise here on the channel for SISTAPAM SPOOKFEST 2024. I'm ranking the movies, the movie posters, and the Michael Myers masks as well. So you might have seen some of those already, or you might see some of them coming up soon, but today we're just ranking the actual movies. I did do a ranking last year, but I wanted to redo it for this year, and I actually have not rewatched my video from last year, so I really don't remember what my ranking was, but after I film this, it'll be interesting to go back and watch the old one to see if my ranking has changed a little bit. Also, just a reminder that this is just my personal opinion, so if you disagree, no worries. In fact, leave a comment down below and let me know your ranking and which one is your favorite. But let's get into it. All right, getting right into it. Coming in at number 13, last place, I have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 from 2009. This one is just my absolute least favorite from the franchise. I find it so boring. Clearly, I do find Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 more interesting than 2. I feel like the first one was a far more interesting remake, and with the second one, it just kind of fell off. I lost interest. It was honestly really dark, and some of the scenes and like the imagery, I did not care for. So that's why I have it in last place. Coming in at number 12, this might shock some people, but I have Halloween 2 from 1981. I know a lot of people love this movie. A lot of people out there actually like it just as much as the original, but for me, I find it so boring. It's like a total snooze fest to me. No offense if you love it, you know, I love that you love it, but it's just not for me. I feel like Laurie Strode had no role in this movie. She's just kind of lying around in the hospital, really has no lines in the movie, which I get it. Like, this is the same night as the original, so she just went through something super traumatic, but I don't know. It would have been nice to see her have a little bit more to do. I believe in my video from last year, I said how one of my mutuals on TikTok called it pure Ambien. And I just think that is so accurate. But moving on to number 11, I have Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007. Definitely very low on the ranking for me, but you know, it's really not a terrible movie. I totally understand why a lot of people out there hate this movie. It's one of those things like the original from 1978 is so good. Some things should just not be messed with. But I do think that it was a pretty creative take on it. I do think it's interesting that we got to see more of Michael as a kid, which a lot of people don't like. They kind of like how in the original, you really don't know anything about Michael. That kind of makes it scarier in a way, and I totally get that. But I did find it kind of interesting to learn some more about Michael as a kid. I think Scout Taylor Compton was great in the role of Laurie. I did enjoy the sort of changes that they made to Dr. Loomis. He was very different in this remake compared to the original, which is just interesting to see. I absolutely love that Danielle Harris was in this movie, now playing Annie Brackett. She, of course, played Jamie Lloyd in Halloween 4 and 5, so I just love that they included her in this remake in a different role now that she was older. And I also do think it's interesting that it takes place in the 90s. I think that was another interesting spin on it. Coming in at number 10, I have Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. This one is just definitely one of my least favorites of the franchise. I find it kind of boring, but I do like that Paul Rudd is in it. I'm a fan of Paul Rudd. This was his first ever official movie. I think it's fun that he played Tommy Doyle, but I don't know, I just find this movie kind of boring. In a way, it is a little bit nostalgic because, you know, it was always playing on TV when I was a kid, And there's a lot of fun fall imagery in this movie, which fall is my favorite season, obviously, so it is nice to see that, but the plot of this movie just really doesn't do it for me. The whole Cult of Thorn thing, I don't know, I'm just not crazy about that. Really doesn't do it for me. I don't like that they recasted Jamie. I feel like at the time, Danielle Harris was the perfect age to play Jamie again at that age, and it really sucks that they just recasted her like that. And then obviously the whole director's cut version is a lot more bizarre. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I mean. Like the whole Jamie and Michael thing, very weird and disturbing. But yeah, I don't know. This is just not my favorite. Coming in at number 9, I have Halloween Resurrection. I clearly like this one more than the 4 previous ones that I just named, but this still isn't one of the better ones of the franchise. I do recognize that the movie has a lot of issues. If you really examine the movie, like, it might be considered a bad movie, but it is very nostalgic for me. I did watch this one a lot as a kid. I do think it's an interesting concept, you know, like the reality show taking place. It is interesting and different. I am a fan of Ryan Merriman. He was in a lot of different things that I watched as a kid. Same with Thomas Ian Nicholas. He was in a lot of things I watched as a kid. You know, Tyra Banks is in this movie. So is Busta Rhymes. And he has that one scene with Michael, which might be a little goofy, but I actually love it, and it makes me laugh every time I see it.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
So yeah, not the best, but also not the worst. Coming in at number 8, I have Halloween Ends. I feel like this movie is very divisive amongst fans. I know a lot of people out there absolutely hate Halloween Ends. I don't hate it. I actually thoroughly enjoy this movie. I do think it's a good movie. I also completely understand why people don't like it. People were expecting a Michael Myers-centric movie, and that's not what we got. We got the character Corey Cunningham. And I have to say, I love the character Corey Cunningham. I feel like as time goes on, this movie will definitely grow on people. I think, you know, now that a couple years have gone by and we all know that it's not a Michael Myers movie, maybe people can kind of go into it with a fresh set of eyes and kind of appreciate it for what it is, because like I said, it is actually a great movie. People's main issue is just that they were expecting Michael. I will admit though, I feel like the storyline for Halloween Ends should have been the storyline for Halloween Kills. I feel like they should have swapped the movies, because in Halloween Kills, we have the scene where the whole town gangs up on Michael. I think that would have been a better finale. I think for the third and final film of the trilogy, the whole town should have ganged up on him, beat the crap out of him, and then threw his body into the grinder thing. So yeah, I do absolutely love Halloween Ends, but it's ranked kind of in the middle for me just because there are so many more Halloween movies that I do prefer. Which brings me to number 7. I have Halloween Kills. I do think this movie is a little bit more enjoyable. There's a lot of things in this movie that I like a lot. A lot happens in this movie. Cameron kind of redeems himself and then gets killed. You know, we have the hospital scene where the whole town goes to the hospital, thinks that one guy is Michael, but obviously he's not, and he jumps out of the building. Like I said previously, the whole town gangs up on Michael. Tommy Doyle plays a big part. Obviously he dies, unfortunately. And also Karen gets murdered at the end. Also, I love Big John and Little John. They really provided some great comic relief in this movie. And there's just a lot that happens in this movie, and I really enjoy Halloween Kills. Coming in at number 6, I have Halloween 2018. I just think this one was a fun return to the franchise. It's the first time we're seeing Laurie Strode since, 2002 Resurrection came out, when they obviously killed her off. 2018 is interesting because of the fact that they totally wipe away all of the sequels. It's a direct sequel to the first movie, which I think is very interesting. It's not the first time in the franchise that they do that. The Halloween franchise is kind of constantly retconning itself and like wiping away previous sequels, which, you know, I am kind of torn on how I feel about that in general. A part of me hates the lack of consistency, but another part of me finds it very interesting because then there are so many different things that they can do with it. I will say it's kind of a bummer that because it's a direct sequel to the first one, Laurie and Michael are not siblings. And I know there's a lot of people out there who don't like the fact that they made them siblings. In fact, I believe John Carpenter himself hated the fact that they decided to make them siblings. But there is a lot that I love about Halloween 2018. I think, first of all, the Michael mask looked great. It's honestly one of the better masks of the whole franchise. I love the way it was shot. A lot of the scenes are so good. And like I said, I just think it was a fun return to the franchise. Coming in 5th place, I have Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Now, obviously, this is not a Michael movie. And I do think there are a lot of people out there who don't care for this movie because of that. But I do think that a lot of people are really coming around to this movie and recognizing that it is a great movie, even if it's not a Michael Myers movie. The plot of this movie is so interesting. The masks in this movie are so cool. As you can see, I have the pumpkin one right behind me. I want to get the rest of them. But yeah, I think a lot of people are beginning to see the nostalgia behind this movie. Coming in at number 4, I have Halloween H2O. I feel like this is another one that's kind of divisive amongst fans. I feel like there are a lot of people out there who don't like this movie, and I can recognize that this is not technically a great movie. It does have a lot of issues, but this is just another one that is very nostalgic for me. I watched it a lot as a kid. I think, you know, it's a lot of fun to see Jamie Lee Curtis return to the role of Laurie. This was the first time that we were seeing her since Halloween 2. Now this one is a direct sequel to Halloween 2, whereas 2018 was a direct sequel to the first movie. So that's what I'm saying, like there's a lack of consistency in the franchise, which can be frustrating, but you know, I love Josh Hartnett. This honestly is a great cast. The cast of this movie were in a lot of different things that I watched growing up. This movie was definitely heavily inspired by Scream. I mean, Kevin Williamson did work on this movie, and they even show a Scream 2 scene in this movie. My one real issue with this movie is Michael Myers is really not in the movie a lot. He really doesn't show up until the end. But Laurie and Michael have a great showdown in this movie. And of course, at the end, we think that she chops his head off, but then we later learn in Resurrection that it wasn't Michael. Coming in at number 3, I have Halloween 5. This is one that is just so nostalgic for me. I watched this one a lot as a kid. I love the character Jamie Lloyd. I feel like a lot of people out there don't like Halloween 5 because, like I've said about previous sequels, Halloween 5 also has its issues. It's not necessarily a great movie, but it is just so nostalgic for me. And nostalgia plays a big factor into how I feel about these movies. Now, out of the Jamie Lloyd Halloween movies, this one is definitely on the goofier side. It definitely has a lot more issues. You know, for example, the clown music that they play whenever the cops show up.
All clear.
Nothing above, nothing below.
That was just a weird choice. Also, I hate Rachel's death in this movie. It just feels very anticlimactic and they just kind of brush over it. But again, this one's just so nostalgic for me, so I do have it ranked pretty high. Which brings me to number 2, Halloween 4. Obviously, this is the first one with Jamie Lloyd. Halloween 4 is a lot better than the 5th one in my opinion. Although I will say I think Halloween 5's final act is a lot better. I should have mentioned that when I was talking about Halloween 5. But getting back to Halloween 4, The return of Michael Myers, I just think it was a great way to reintroduce Michael to the franchise. Obviously, in Halloween 3, we took a little break from Michael, so I just think the fourth movie was a great return of Michael. And the whole ending with Jamie in the clown costume, killing her adopted mom is a very interesting choice, very intense. Obviously, that ended up kind of being wiped away in the sequel, but Halloween 4, definitely one of my favorites. Finally, coming in at first place is Halloween 1978, the original. It just does not get better than the original. So nostalgic for me. I love everything about it. The characters, Michael's performance, Dr. Loomis, the setting. It's just perfect. Like, do I even need to explain? I'm sure most of you would have the original ranked in first place as well. I look forward to rewatching this movie every year, and I watch it probably 20 times during the Halloween season. You know, I do my initial viewing where I sit down with my snacks and really pay attention, and then I just kind of constantly have it on in the background throughout the whole season. But there you have it. That is my ranking of all 13 Halloween movies. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what your ranking is and which one is your favorite. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Please turn on all notifications so that you don't miss out on any more SpookFest videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.